Again, welcome. The today's topic is creating more powerful and beautiful maps using ArcGIS Online Map Viewer Beta. And thank you for answering the poll. It's glad to see some of you, 2% use it often already, and 35% occasionally, and majority, 60%, not yet using it. So we have Zara here, Zara Matheson, product engineer with ArcGIS Online team. So Zara will introduce the Map Viewer Beta, doing also the demo. And Zara also want to hear from you what your opinion on this, if you have any question, your concern. So we're gonna take them all and see, we'll bring it to her team as well. With that, I'm gonna stop the share and hand it over to Zara.
Well, I'm glad to see that some people have started using the Map Viewer Beta, but it's good that a lot of you haven't, because this is a bit of an introduction. So hopefully it'll be mostly new to everyone. I'll probably go through the demos and the slides, and then there'll be lots of time for questions and everything at the end. So Esri's Map Viewer has been the primary way for users to interact with and create online maps, and the Map Viewer Beta is just the next iteration of this. So it was introduced just over a year ago, and it's built using the ArcGIS API for JavaScript 4x. It supports improved functionality and new features, many of which allow for easier exploration of maps and data without users having to worry about breaking things. So that's something that's very useful for new users especially. So why get excited about a new map viewer? Map Viewer Beta aims to inspire experimentation and creativity while providing an enhanced experience for your key mapping workflows. It features intelligent defaults with an intuitive design pattern, which helps you get started right away with new maps. It has dynamic mapping controls with immediate visual feedback, which lets you gain valuable insights with just a few clicks. And it also introduces a number of highly requested new features, such as cluster labeling, group layers, layer blending, and improved symbology. And in this presentation, I'm going to go through how you can access the new map viewer, how to open your existing maps, as well as explain some of these new features. And hopefully that will motivate you to start migrating to this map viewer, and I'll answer any questions at the end. So how to access Map Viewer Beta? You can access it in a few ways. You can access it from the item details page of supported layers or from web maps. And you can also access it from the app launcher menu. So I'll quickly show how to do that. So here I am logged into ArcGIS Online, and if you go to any web map in the item details page, you see the default option is to open in Map Viewer, and that opens it in the Map Viewer Classic. But if you click the drop-down arrow, there is the option to open it in Map Viewer Beta. And that option exists for feature layers as well, and we'll keep adding it as different layers types are supported. So another way to access Map Viewer Beta is from the app launcher menu. It should be there by default, but some organizations, you can disable it, but it's usually there for public users as well. And so then there's a button to access Map Viewer Beta. So if you haven't seen it already, this is the Map Viewer Beta. You'll notice it has a bit of a fresh new look. It provides a logical flow from left to right when authoring a map. There's two main vertical toolbars. The one on the left is the contents toolbar, and the one on the right over here is the settings toolbar. The contents toolbar allows you to manage the map contents and work with the map itself. Things like printing and saving the map, opening new maps, and adding layers. So if you want to add a layer, it sort of opens by default when you start a new map. There's the option to add layer. And it will open the item browser, which is very similar to what you would see in the old map viewer. You'll have access to all of your same data from there, and you can add layers this way. So to access most of the tools on the right, you can simply click on the layer in the layer list, and it'll open this properties toolbar here, which shows you information about the layer, the default symbology and legend. It lets you adjust things like transparency and the visible range. When you click on the layer in the layer list, that also opens up these tools, including styles, filter, clustering if it's a point layer, pop-ups, and fields and labels. You'll also see on the right that there are the other tools for interacting with the map, such as search, measure, directions, location, which allows you to find coordinates, editing, and if your map is time enabled, there's a time option there as well. So in the layer list, you'll also be able to click on this open actions, and that gives you access to some of the tools you might be familiar with from the old map viewer, such as zooming to the layer, renaming, showing the attribute table, and then removing the layer. So one other exciting feature in the new map viewer beta is that you can also access all of your existing maps directly from the app instead of having to access them through the item details page in ArcGIS Online. We have an open existing map option. And similar to how you would browse for layers, you can browse to all of your existing maps. And this includes maps that were authored in the classic map viewer as well, so you can open them in this one. So this brings us to an important question. Do I need to convert my old maps and data? And the answer is no. You can simply open all of your maps and data in the map viewer beta that you've authored already without having to make any changes. However, we are slowly adding support for all layer types, and some have not been fully implemented yet. So when you're opening an existing map, we're encouraging you to save as instead of just overwriting a map. This makes sure that you're not accidentally breaking something for now. We've created a compatibility guide for web maps created with Map Viewer Classic and Map Viewer Beta that sort of shows some of the differences that exist currently. There is some functionality that's not yet supported in Map Viewer Beta while it's still in beta, and there's also some new features that we've added to Map Viewer Beta that are not supported in Classic or some of the older applications. So we encourage people to sort of read the compatibility guide and always save as for now, so that you have sort of two versions of your maps before you decide what you want to use going forward. So next I'm going to go into some demos about the different enhancements that Map Viewer Beta brings compared to Map Viewer Classic. And the first one is enhancements to explore data. And this includes some new enhancements about searching for attributes and finding information about your data before mapping, and also the addition of dynamic updates when applying styles and filters to the map. So in this map, I've added a layer of population variables in the United States. Before I decide how to symbolize the data, I need to decide exactly what I want to symbolize. So like I showed before, if you click on the layer, you can then access the styles button over here on the right. And then you get the option to choose attributes, and you can add a field. And something new that we've added in Map Viewer Beta is the option to search fields. So you can, if you have a lot of fields in your data, you can search through it. And so in this case, if I search for population, you'll get all the fields with population. And we've also added this sort of information button on the right. And that lets you find out information about the field, including the field type, some descriptions, value types. You get sample value, you get the number of records, sum of values. You can see the minimum and maximum, as well as the average. And useful is the number of empty records. So this sort of lets you browse through the data quickly before deciding which variables you want to use, which is quite useful. So then I can decide that I do want to use total population and select it as a field. And you'll see that it's automatically symbolized on the map. And you can see here the different styles that are available for numeric values. And one of the great things about Map Viewer Beta is that when you click through these different styles, it automatically updates on the map without you having to close anything first. Even when you go in, and if you're browsing color ramps, you can click through them and they'll automatically display on the map, which is really useful for sort of playing around with data and deciding what you want to display. So similar to styles, you can do the same thing with filter. I've got a different layer here. You can access the filter in the same way. It's over here on the right. If you add an expression, you see the fields, you can search through them again, and you can see the information beside them. So this case, I'm going to pick the % of forest cover. And again, you can see information about the field. And similar to how the map updates the style, if you're adjusting the filter, it'll update automatically, and you can sort of see the ones that are excluded in sort of a light gray, and the ones that are included in the filter are colored. And then when you press save, you'll only see the ones that you've selected, and it turns off the sort of the ones that were faded in the background, which is another really great way to sort of explore data before you decide what you want to use it with. So we've also included some enhancements to explore the map. These include new and improved bookmarks, reverse geocode, rotation, and the introduction of group layers. So the 4x JavaScript API supports rotation. This lets you save a map with the rotation that you want. This can be really useful when mapping places like Central Park or cities with gridded streets. So in this map, I've got a map of Manhattan, and if you sort of right-click on the map and drag down, you can rotate it. You can zoom in, and if you save the map, it'll save and reopen with that rotation saved. You can see at the bottom, there's a little north arrow that lets you reset to the default rotation. So with the most recent updates to bookmarks in Map Your Beta, you're also able to edit the extent, scale, and the separate rotation of bookmarks as well. So bookmarks are accessed on the left panel, and I've got some configured already. And these are different ballparks in the United States. And if you click through, you can see that home plate is always at the bottom, which means that there's a different rotation saved for each bookmark, which is a nice feature. And then you can always rotate it back if you want to. And we've also introduced the concept of thumbnails for bookmarks. This lets you either add an image or it takes a screenshot of the map, which I can show if you add a new bookmark. You can see by default, it takes a screenshot of what's on the map. If you edit it, there's the option to use an image URL instead, or just remove the thumbnail altogether. Map Your Beta also introduces the capability to right-click on the map and determine the address and coordinates for a location. So if you right-click, you'll see this sort of what's here pop up. If you click on it, it'll tell you if there's a POI, it'll say what it is. So in this case, it's the Rogers Center in Toronto, and then you get the coordinates at the bottom. So another very highly requested feature that we've added to Map Your Beta is group layers. And this allows users to organize layers in their maps into groups based on common geography or themes. With layer groups, it's easy to turn on and off different groups of layers, and then also quickly reorder them. Users can employ layer groups to show different levels of geography for a single data set, or you can put same sections of geography in one group as well. This web map, I've added 6 layers, and 3 of them are grouped together in labor force participation. So I've got labor force participation by census tract, county, and state, and I've grouped them all together into one group, which sort of makes it easier for someone opening this map to know where that data is and how to access it. To do the same thing for median household income, again, I've got state, county, and tract data. You can just click on the ellipsis, and there's the option to add to new group or move to group. And if you click add to new group, it creates a new group layer with your layer inside. You can rename that. You can also drag other layers in. You can move the layers between different group layers as well. So one of the most exciting things about Map Your Beta are the actual map authoring improvements. And these include lots of things like label authoring enhancements, new symbols, new smart mapping styles, and I think most exciting is layer blending. So there's a lot of different enhancements that improve the overall map authoring experience. And this allows users to create and share beautiful maps that they weren't able to in ArcGIS Online directly before. One is enhanced labels, and that makes your labels nicer than ever. There's over 30 new decorative fonts, as well as the ability to visualize your labels on multiple lines. You can specify when each label class appears and disappears, depending on your current zoom level. So in this map, I have labels by state, one of the new fonts that I'm using. As you zoom in, you can see that there's a scale dependent label that shows up as you have more space, showing the percentage of the forest, and it's in a different font. And to do this, you can simply click on the layer in the layer list, and you'll see the label option on the other side. And here I've got two label classes. One is name, and then the other one is a custom arcade expression showing the percent forest. You can choose the field, you can filter, which is a nice feature. You can filter just what you want to display labels and separate from the actual map data filter. And the option to edit label style. You can see all of the new fonts that we've added. There's the option to offset labels as well, which is a nice addition too. And then you can adjust the visible range. So that's how I've set it up so that this one, the percent forest, only shows up at certain scales. So Map Viewer Beta introduces new vector point symbols as well, and these are scalable vector graphic symbols. So the shape is preserved when scaling up and down, which makes for a crisper looking map. Users can also adjust the colors of these symbols much easier than they can in some of the older picture marker symbols. And it also allows you, if you have access to ArcGIS Pro, you can publish your own 2D web styles to a group in online and access those symbols through Map Viewer Beta as well. Another great part about these labels is that both the outline and fill are editable, giving you and other map users a lot more options for creating exactly what you want to see on the map. So in this map, I'm using one of the new airport symbols, which you can access through the style options. There's symbols, you can see the basic shapes, and then we have this section called beta symbols, and that includes POI and POI basic. And so that's where I've selected this airplane, but you can, as you can see, there's a lot of new fun symbols here. And what's really exciting is that you can apply the color ramps to these symbols, which is something you couldn't really do in Map Viewer Classic except for with some of the pretty basic symbols. And you can also adjust the outline color and stroke and everything, which is quite nice. So you can sort of play around and get exactly what you want to see on the map. So there's also a number of new styles and themes that we've added that aren't available in Map Viewer Classic. One of the most requested was dot density. And we've also, what I'm going to demo now is one that just came out last month, actually, which is a new theme for color and size called Above and Below. It lets you display data that is above or below a certain value, such as something above or below the national average or something with positive and negative values in a way that's much more meaningful than what we're seeing here. So this is showing a map of population growth, and you can see it's sort of hard to see what exactly is going on in this map. It's just displayed by color and size. It's hard to see what values are good, what values are bad. But now if you go into style options for color and size, you'll see there's this new theme drop-down menu. Right now it's using the default high to low theme, which is available in Map Viewer Classic. But there's some new ones as well, including above and below, which shows data above and below a value like 0 or the average. And then there's an above option, which emphasizes data above a key value, and a below option, which emphasizes data below a key value. So with above and below, you'll see by default, it adds these arrows. So you have two symbols, one that's showing values that are negative and one that are showing values that are positive. And you can adjust those symbols. We've got some new options in here. My favorite one is the smiley faces and the frowny faces. So for positive values, they have smiley faces, and for negative values, there's frowny ones. You can change the color ramp. You can also decide, in this case, it's got a binary where there's just two colors, but you can choose a continuous color ramp as well. For something like temperature, that might be more useful. So this is another new enhancement that we've included. And finally, one of the other major exciting things Map Viewer Beta offers is layer blending. So this is, we've introduced 30 different blend methods, which take two or more layers and blend the pixels of those layers together. Sort of like what you can do in Photoshop. It gives users control over what shows through each layer and how the colors and textures between layers appear. It's sort of an improvement on just adjusting layer transparency. You can enhance maps without obscuring things like labels. And we've sort of made it easy for users to explore the different options, play around with it, which is a nice enhancement. So in this example, I filtered the US states layer to show just California. And you can see there's this blending option in the properties. Right now it's just set to regular. And you'll see there's a number of different options. Lighter, lighten, screen color dodge. There's contrast options, and then compositing options as well. So it's something you can play around with. There's an option at the top that says learn how to use the blend modes, which is useful to read through before doing this. In this case, I'm going to use the multiply filter. Actually, that's not the one that I meant to use. So I'm going to use destination, and this one sort of acts like a filter. And you can see that the base map that was underneath is now filtered to the state of California, which is sort of a nice effect if you're just creating a map of California. And I have another layer in this map called California Wildland Fire Protection Areas. And right now you can sort of see that it obscures the base map underneath. You could adjust transparency to see what's underneath, but with layer blending, this time I'm going to use multiply. The order of the layer matters, and I've sort of messed it up here. Okay, so you can see I sort of lost the other effect, but you can see now that there's a transparency applied, but you can still see the labels really crisply through it, which is a really nice effect. But it's something you can play around with. There's a lot of blog posts that have been written by the cartography and the content team that explain these a bit better. So because Map Viewer Beta is still in beta, we have received a lot of questions, especially when will Map Viewer Beta no longer be in beta? Tentatively, we're looking at Dev Summit this year, but it's still very tentative. It might be in beta for a bit longer. And even when it goes out of beta, there's still going to be work that needs to be done to have everything completely compatible with Map Viewer Classic. So a lot of people are asking, when will the new Map Viewer completely replace the classic Map Viewer? They're going to exist side by side for quite a while until all of the new tools are existing in Map Viewer Beta. So users will have the option to use either for a long time. We'll also make a lot of messaging come out far in advance so that people know when the classic map viewer is going to go away completely. Another big question is, how can I find out which apps support the capabilities introduced in Map Viewer Beta? And we do have documentation about that. I've included some links at the end, but there's also we have a space on GeoNet, which we encourage users to go to because we browse it fairly often. There's a lot of blog posts and information there as well. Because the Map Viewer Beta is created with the 4x version of the API, a lot of the maps and sort of these new things that you're seeing only are supported in apps. Some of the new apps like Dashboards Beta, the newer story maps that are authored with that API. Some of the older apps may not support everything.
Hey, Zara, before you leave that point, that was one of the things that was actually brought up a couple times in the chat, and that is, let's say a person wants to use the new, the beta map viewer in a story map. You're saying they've got to use the ArcGIS story maps, and then it'll work.
Yes, you can use you'll be able to open maps authored in Map Viewer Beta in the older story maps, but you might lose if you configure something with layer blending or with some of the new fancy styles. Those will get lost. You'll still see the data, it just won't display in the same way.
Thank you.
Hey, Zara, to add into that, I believe that this Map Viewer Beta is working in ExperienceBuilder. How about the Web App Builder?
No, the Web App Builder is older, so you'll have a different experience. Again, the maps will still open, you just may not see some of the nicer enhancements.
I see.
So we've got a list on GeoNet, but it's basically anything that's built with the 3x JavaScript API may not display the maps in the same way as you'll see them in the 4x apps. So I've included at the end a list of different resources. There's a quick start tutorial, which is really useful if you're just sort of using it for the first time. It goes you through some of the basic workflows. Again, the compatibility guide for things that are created in MapViewer Classic and MapViewer Beta. A link to our GeoNet space, which is a great place to ask questions. There is one Learn lesson created already for MapViewer Beta, which walks you through some key workflows as well. So I noticed there were a lot of questions that come in, so I can go back and answer those now as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
we can help you with that.
yeah, we can. You don't have to
Okay.
comb through all these. We've been compiling. I'll just raise one of them here, and that is, let's say you want to add data, and you want to add, like we can in the existing map viewer, from a URL or you know, from a REST endpoint. Can we do that here?
Yes, so it was actually added
Cool.
pretty
Okay.
recently, not for all layer types yet, but at the top, there's a add button. There's the option to browse layers through the item browser there. We've added support for adding a CSV from URL. You see there's just the option to add from URL. Same with KML, ArcGIS Web Services from ArcGIS Server. You can add through there from the REST endpoint. And for GeoRSS. And this is a place where we're slowly adding support. The next few releases will keep adding different layer types to that.
Cool. Also, thanks for that. Parvane was asking, does this work, the beta, or the new map viewer beta, on Portal, or is it just on ArcGIS Online right now?
It is in Portal. I think it's a separate install. I can't remember if they've changed that, but the option is there. I forget exactly how you go about getting it. The GeoNet place would be a good place to look for that. But
Thank
it is
you.
available. I just forget how exactly you install it.
Thank you. Rena, while you're combing through there. Oh, sorry.
Okay, Zara, do you think that's will be the MapViewer beta will be side by side with Classic for a while, or it will be like one is gonna be replaced by the other?
They'll be side by side until everything from MapViewer Classic has been put into MapViewer Beta. And so things like there's no analysis tools in MapViewer Beta yet, and that might be quite a while longer before they're added. So MapViewer Classic is definitely going to exist for as long as it's needed.
That's a good question. I answered actually. There's a question from Lori saying that is enrichment now available in beta. I guess it's not yet, right?
No.
Okay.
And also, if you mentioned groups, which I think is very exciting. Jeff was wondering if you publish data from ArcGIS Pro or ArcMap that contains group layers, will it be able to be accessed in the viewer that you described today?
Yes, if you publish it as a web map from ArcGIS Pro, it'll open that web map with the group layers defined.
Very cool.
Pro, yeah.
Joseph, I don't know if you already raised this one question from Emily. Does the beta viewer support adding layers from the web like REST URL?
Yeah, we just talked. Yeah. Yeah, and this is where Zara was just looking at then Andy added, I don't see the GeoJSON yet, but I'm sure it's on the way, right, Zara? I mean,
yeah,
you're
trying
to.
It's one of the next ones that we're looking at adding. So
very cool.
It'll be sometime soon.
You are on top of things.
So Zara, all the additional things additional feature is happen right away, or it's every time the ArcGIS Online get updates?
Yeah, so right now it's about usually with the online update, sometimes we do some between the online updates, but we always post on GeoNet when there's a MapViewer beta update, and through social media as well. But it's usually every few months now. We add different functionality. But we're looking to add quite a bit for Dev Summit, so that's something to look forward to in March, I guess.
And I will include all the links that Zara has into the education chat blog on that, so you guys can all have it.
And a few of us were chatting a bit before you came on, Zara, but to me, and your presentation, which was awesome, firmly cemented in my mind that, you know, those some of us were around 20 years ago when there are all kinds of articles about how ugly maps can be made with GIS. Well, sure, I mean, data quality is still important, but I think this lays to rest any argument that you can't make beautiful maps with a GIS. I mean, the blending that you showed and the other things are they're just gorgeous. So I'm seeing lots of teachable moments in a geovisualization course, in a cartography course, and in straight, of course, GIS courses. But yeah, it's just fantastic.
It's very exciting. And the mine were pretty basic demos, and so I encourage people, if you're interested in the cartography part, to look at a lot of the content that's been published from the Living Atlas and that cartography team, because they're doing a lot of really great things with Map Viewer Beta that make it even more powerful than what I've been showing here, which is really nice.
Yeah, I see that it's less clicking, more cartographic options. I think the students and the educator will have fun using them.
And it's really easy to play around with without breaking something too, which is nice. You can sort of see things updated in real time, which I think is really, especially for students, is really a nice feature.
Yeah. What is the one the top on the list for make it happen, Zara?
I guess right now we're just looking at focusing on getting support for all the different layer types is probably the main thing right now.
Yeah, the educator used a lot of story maps, a lot of web apps, and there's a lot of chat in here as well between the WebBuilder. And David mentioned as well, yes, WebBuilder is based on the ArcGIS JavaScript API 3x. And then the new one, which is ExperienceBuilder, is the 4x. So yeah, I think the map viewer beta is more for the ExperienceBuilder then, right, Sarah?
And if you opened a map like this one with layer blending, if you opened in Map Viewer Classic, you'll see sort of a warning message telling you that certain layers have configurations that aren't supported in Map Viewer Classic. I don't think you get those warnings when you open them in WebBuilder or something, but it's a good way to sort of preview what it might look like in WebBuilder by opening in Map Viewer Classic first.
Awesome. There is a good question here from Angela Lee here. You mentioned about the learn lessons. Do you know if there is also a plan to create or incorporate Map Viewer beta in the web courses or instructor-led courses or any Esri press books? I don't know if you're aware of that.
I don't know immediately what the plan is, but I'm sure that eventually it will get sort of changed over. It's a lot of work, I think, to do everything. I think also waiting for everything. Because we're still in beta, a lot of things change. Even just the location of menus and things. So you don't want to put in all that work just to have to redo it again.
I think one of the things that has been a pervasive conversation, Zara, in the education world is like you're touching on right now. The interface changes. All that is to say that, one of the things that we're always encouraging educators to do is don't screenshot everything, to your point that things evolve. The point is, at some point in the new viewer, there will be an analysis button somewhere, and you'll have the analysis tools. They won't look exactly the same as the existing analysis tools, but there will be a proximity. There will be an enrichment somewhere. And it's one of those things where, sure, we all need some step-by-step at some points in our own journey, but try to not stress about, okay, where is that button? It'll be in there, and I like the new interface. It seems much more like Rena was touching on, intuitive, and it's also a bit reflective of some of the other things that we have, like Business Analyst Web, where you've got some tools on the right, you got some tools on the left, and really nothing on the top, except for some basic things. So yeah, I think it's it's a learning curve, but the power is just amazing. Exciting times.
It is indeed. Does anybody want to talk with Zara? So if you feel free, we are in the QA in here. So if you want to move, unmute your mic, feel free to do so. We're checking as well if there is still any questions, comment. Most welcome.
Indeed. Remember, folks, this is meant to be a chat, interacting with all of you.
Hi, Zara. It's Naomi. I just wanted to check. I don't know if you mentioned this. So you said that the analysis and enrichment tools will be updated sometime in March, or
not in March probably, but sometime in the next year probably.
okay. Thank you.
Zara, can I ask one question?
Sure.
The question that I have is about the web feature services. Can it be added on the web service link that you were showing?
Yes, yes.
If it's hosted outside, not on Esri site.
I think that might not be supported yet. It might be one that's coming. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, what sort of data type were you?
I mean, on the web services that you were showing,
Mm-hmm.
I can understand that maybe if it's web services are served on the Esri enterprise server,
Yep.
I think maybe you might be able to access. And from there, you have option of creating WFS services, WCS services, and all of those are open protocols that could be hosted on different servers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not on Esri servers. So we have hundreds of feature services, web feature services through our own portal. So I'm trying to see how we can leverage those data, not really downloading and then uploading here, rather than directly connecting from our server to this new feature services using a WFS protocols through the web services and then create the maps.
Yes, so those ones we don't have support for yet, but similar, because they will be supported in the same way that they are supported in Map Builder Classic. So you should be able to add them. Right now, if you wanted to experiment with Map Builder Beta with those types of layers, you'd have to author the map in Map Builder Classic and then open it in Map Builder Beta. You can't add those layers even from the item browser right now. And a lot of the tools such as styles, filter, and labels, they're not supported for those layer types yet. But it's something that we are working on, hopefully in the next year, but it's hard to say.
Zara, follow-up question. So question for anybody really. So can you author a map in Pro using those OGC services and publish it? You mentioned using the classic map viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Could you also do it from Pro?
I think so. I don't use Pro a lot, so I'm probably not the best person to ask.
Yeah.
But if you can do that and open it in Map Builder Classic that way, then it should work the same in Map Builder Beta.
Yeah. Rena or Joseph, do you happen to know that? Or Wang, maybe you know it. Have you authored maps in Pro with OGC services? Okay.
Yes, Pro, yes, OGC services. You can actually access WF services on Pro, but I've not published on our portal or on ArcGIS. I've not done that one. So that's why I was just really curious to see this web services option. And I thought when you have web services, it could mean a lot of different things, including Esri services versus all the OGC protocols, right? Services. And if you can consume it, then that'll allow you to do a lot of other things, right? You do not necessarily have to download the data. You can connect to different servers and create the map and publish them.
Yep.
Can I comment? Can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, or just mention this question of compatibility and backwards compatibility. See, the thing is, in this Esri technology, we're in this sort of transition period. So from desktop to pro. The desktop to pro one is interesting. I mean, I heard a couple of recent surveys on conference web calls, and something like 60% of people were not using pro. They were still using desktop. And I would say to all of those people, make the move as soon as you can. ArcGIS Pro is at that point now where it is absolutely excellent, you know, in most, I mean, yeah, there are bugs, you know, there is occasional thing like any program, but it is phenomenal, you know, the difference when you go from one to the other. So move forwards like that. And then the other reason to move forward is some of the things that people have mentioned here, which is when you're working with web maps, for example, you can author them right there in Pro. You've got this ability to work with the same style sets and all that kind of stuff. So that's a reason right there. And then when it comes to the web stuff, what we're looking at here is the future. This React, the technology is called React. It's the way that the look and feel that you have here. You have it in the story maps capability. You have it in ExperienceBuilder. So this is the future, and it's absolutely excellent technology. It's phenomenal, and the 4X API is phenomenal. Now the problem for a lot of people though is that they're heavily reliant on Web App Builder, and they're reliant on widgets and functionality that isn't there yet in the ExperienceBuilder, and it will come eventually. It's just a question of when. So we're in that tricky period of you know, which one do you stick with, which one do you start with now? But when you're developing with the 4X API to develop applications in ExperienceBuilder, say, you use TypeScript, and or you don't have to, but it's highly recommended. You use TypeScript for the 4X API, which is phenomenal. So there's great coding reasons as well for doing this. It's just, like I said in the chat a few moments ago, be a bit careful for now. And I think Esri, you know, definitely I would encourage Esri to put something out to explain this clearly. Don't, if you create something in Map Viewer Beta and save it, you may very well have trouble with certain things when you're using 3X technology. So that's 3X based applications such as Web App Builder. There are, I mean, if it were me and I were Jack Dangermond, I would have made a 4X Web App Builder to get people into the modern age without having to go the whole hog into ExperienceBuilder, which brings other issues in terms of development. But there isn't one. But on the other hand, if the user community applies enough pressure and says, look, we can't move out of Web App Builder and we're stuck with 3X, and we can't take advantage of this fantastic technology because of, you know, various reasons, then maybe Esri will budge on that, you know. So it's up to us as the community to apply that pressure and to try this and see, but to be fully aware of compatibility issues. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Raising a lot of good points there.
Hi, I have a question, guys. This is Parvane. Can I ask my question? Hello. So Zara, thank you very much, first of all, for this presentation. It's fabulous. So we are working with indoors, and some of this functionality that you're showing today, like blending and that labeling, these are just going to be fantastic for us to be able to use them. I know I have to say that the new indoors version, I haven't truly looked at that. I've just looked at quickly. So maybe they do have these functionalities, but is there some kind of coordination between you guys and indoors people, other teams? So, hey, this could be integrated so we can make really nice map that is in our website.
There is some coordination, but probably not as much as there should be. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the indoors, especially what they're doing to adopt. I guess it's something, a lot of stuff sort of gets put in Map Viewer Beta first and then slowly adopted by other apps going forward. We're kind of the experimental thing right now. So I imagine there might be a bit of a lag right now, but hopefully something that can be improved going forward.
In the future. Great, thank you so much.
I have a question. You demonstrated the capacity to change the fill on point symbology and the rings on it. If the map is created in ArcGIS Pro with arcade expressions, are the arcade expressions respected when published?
For symbology?
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure. Again, I don't use Pro enough, so I'm not the best person to ask. I would encourage you to ask on the GeoNet website. Someone who knows might be able to answer your question there.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Zara, there is a question in here. Are arcade expression honor in beta?
Yes, for certain things, I think. For pop-ups and filtering, all of that has arcade built in right now.
I see. Okay.
So there's right now I've opened pop-ups, which I didn't really demo, but there are some really nice enhancements for pop-ups as well. But you'll get the same arcade expression sort of workflow that you would in Map Your Classic as well. And if you open at least author to Map Your Classic, it'll work in Map Your Beta as well. The pro thing I'm not as confident in the answer to.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I encourage you folks to dig into the pop-ups. This is something that we got lots of input from educators over the years, and the enhancements there, you know, like, oh, the pop-up is hiding certain places on my map and I can't customize it. A lot of those things that people have been asking for have been incorporated here.
Yeah, one nice thing you can sort of see right now, this is a bad example maybe, but there's the option to sort of move your pop-up off to the corner or associate with the feature. We know that people have been requesting the ability to sort of drag it and move it wherever you want, and that's not there yet, but there is slightly improved functionality where you can move them a little bit.
Nice.
I do have I think one of the really nice things about pop-ups in Map Your Beta is that for things like attachments, they show up in the pop-up without you having to open something separate, which makes it a really nice experience as well. So this is just using images, not attachments, but you just see the experience is a lot nicer than it is in the classic map viewer, where you have a larger image. You can adjust text and move it above fields and sort of drag things up and down. So here is the pop-up sort of configuration. You can drag fields below, you can move the image below, you can add charts and text and everything. And it's just a lot more, you're able to configure a lot more, which is really nice in Map Your Beta.
Nice.
Peter, we're not hearing you.
How about now? Does that work?
That's better.
Yep.
Too many mute buttons. You know, there's all sorts of great stuff coming in this Map Viewer beta. You know, all this functionality we've been waiting for. One of the things that we've noticed, though, in terms of rolling it out on our campus, particularly with a lot of folks working at home, is the screen real estate issue. Of you got a lot of these cool menus open, and there's nothing left except a thin sliver on the map on a lot of student laptops.
Yes.
I wonder if you guys are thinking about addressing that at all.
We are. So we've heard that feedback from quite a few people, and it's something we're definitely looking to improve. But it's something we're still thinking about the best way right now. But it's definitely feedback that we've heard, and I guess, yeah, the screen real estate thing is definitely an issue. We've been looking at a number of different options, and hopefully in the next year we'll have something that's slightly better. Because even right now, I've got a fairly big screen, and you can still see with the pop-up and everything. And if I was doing styles, there's just not a lot of map space compared to what you might see in Map Your Classic. And this is a bigger screen. If you make it smaller, you really lose a lot of map real estate. So it is definitely something that we're considering. And we really, I think that we've read the blog posts outlining a lot of the issues. And it's feedback that we've taken back to our team, and we're hopefully going to improve on. For people that haven't used it before, there is the option to sort of close out everything, and you do have quite a big screen when just viewing a map, but it's sort of an authoring experience that you kind of lose some of the screen real estate. So yeah, it's definitely an area that we're looking at improving. But we definitely appreciate that feedback, because it's something that maybe us working on big screens all the time, we may not notice as much as other people do.
Can I make another comment? Sorry. Sure. There's somebody, Dawn, said very enthusiastically that she would like a a 4X API web app builder. So I just want to comment on that a little bit more. So the thing is, ExperienceBuilder, the lady Zhang Xia, her name is, who's in charge of Web App Builder and ExperienceBuilder, she seems an incredibly nice person. I got the feeling though from the UC and the Dev Summit that she probably is a little bit exasperated at having to answer that question. And I would be too, I guess. And the reason ExperienceBuilder was built was because of two things. One is this new technology and the move into this this React-based space and what have you. And then a lot of people said they wanted mobile capabilities, and ExperienceBuilder allows for that. So what you're actually doing in ExperienceBuilder is you're creating configurations, and you create different configurations for different situations. And those of you who have used Web App Builder will know that you're creating, each application in the folder is a separate application there, just like any other application. You can create those, of course, and host them, but it's a slightly different model. And it is very powerful and it's very impressive. Now, I developed widgets for Web App Builder, and in the last year or so, I've started doing them for ExperienceBuilder as well. And the barrier to entry, if you're developing your own widgets, is higher. There's more to learn. But on the other hand, most people don't develop widgets. So the issue really is just, when does all the equivalent functionality became available? Because of a very kind fellow called Robert Shitlin built absolutely loads of widgets for, he did them for Flex originally, then he built them for Web App Builder, and that really solidified the user community and supported and buoyed it, if you like, you know, or as you say in America, buoyed it, I guess. And anyway, the point is that there's a ton of capabilities and functionality available for Web App Builder now that isn't there yet in ExperienceBuilder, and it's going to take time to arrive. So I personally would like to see a 4X API Web App Builder, because I think it would allow people to move into this modern age. But on the other hand, I can see Esri's argument, well, it's not that much further on to ExperienceBuilder, so what's the point? So it's a tricky one. I mean, I was about to place an idea on the ideas website, and then I started to think about that more. I thought, well, yeah, but you know, like I said, the trickiest part of ExperienceBuilder, like I said, is the development. But most people aren't developing widgets, so why not just wait a little bit longer? But like I said before, do bear in mind these compatibility issues. So I hope that adds a bit more and makes some sense.
Right. In my opinion, this is really like the same case like the old story map, and there is a new story classic and a new story map, ArcGIS story map, map viewer, and there is a map viewer beta, web app builder classic, but we don't call it web app builder anymore. We call it the ExperienceBuilder, the new one, and it's all following the changes that we have in JavaScript. So we have the JavaScript API 4.x, then we start also updating all the apps, including the map app builder here.
I think, you know, what users should do, I would say move to the 4X API, TypeScript, ExperienceBuilder, all these new capabilities as quickly as you can. And I know there's cost and expense to doing that, but, you know, in my experience of developing Web App Builder widgets, with 3X, it can be very frustrating at times because of two things. One is just the nature of the API, and that's fine, you know, it's older technology and Esri's learned a lot since. There are some tricky things there that are resolved in 4X and certainly in ExperienceBuilder there. And using TypeScript for development is phenomenal. So there's just many great reasons to move to 4X. The other thing is the sort of connection between, or the relationship between the 3X API and this more modern Esri ecosystem, if you like. I've already encountered weird issues for which I didn't get an error, but something didn't work that had to do with the fact that the 3X API is trying to talk to things that are newer than it is. And there are difficulties there. And I think that gap is going to widen as time goes on. And like I said, you may not get error messages, things just may not work. And that's not Esri's fault. I mean, they have to move on, you know, and I think we all have to move on with it. So I think if you're unsure, you know, just try to make that move as best you can. Try to get support for it. And then if the stuff that you need is not there in ExperienceBuilder, then push Esri to get it there and say, hey, look, we're desperate to move into this modern age. But you've got to support us to do this, you know, because especially at a time like this, I mean, it is expensive to make custom functionality, and you don't want to do it if you can avoid it. You know, given the world economic situation, everything that's going on right now, it's going to be difficult for people, and that's going to slow the transition down for a lot of people. But the easier Esri can make it by providing those widgets and saying, right, look, it's all here. You've got no reason not to move now. It's all here, you know, or as much as possible. And then there's a trade-off, you know, you might lose a few things, but it's absolutely worth making the move.
Indeed.
That's a
Thank
good
you,
point, David. Yes, yes.
All right, folks, we've got just a few minutes left here, but thanks for being on right after the first of the year. New year, new maps, new analysis. It's good to see all your shining faces. Does anybody have any last minute things for Zara?
Yeah,
well,
there's a question to show the closing slide with the links again.
Oh, sure.
Yes, and Zara, probably if I can share my screen, I'm gonna while doing that, Zara, if you can like copy and paste the link maybe to the chat, that will help as well. And then meanwhile, I'm gonna share coming up here. So let me just share my screen real quick.
Here, yeah, I'll copy it.
Just a heads up here for upcoming next education chat. The topic will be introducing the new ArcGIS field maps, all in one app for the field work. So this is gonna be the one that we're gonna bring ArcGIS Explorer, Collector for ArcGIS, and Tracker into one app for the field work. So that will be Tuesday, February 2nd. Then it will be the product manager himself, Jeff Shanner will be the one that lead the presentation. So, and I'm gonna put the registration link as well here.